Captain stared at her coffee cup and wondered why the universe always seemed to go crazy during the night shift. The liquid had gone cold an hour ago, but she kept holding it anyway. Outside the windows of Deep Space Monitoring Station Cerberus, the stars looked the same as always. Distant, quiet, safe. That changed when Communications Officer Sarah nearly fell out of her chair. "Captain," Sarah's voice cracked with excitement and fear. "You need to hear this right now." Set down her cup and walked over to Sarah's station. The young officer's hands shook as she adjusted her headset. Around them, the bridge of Cerberus hummed with the usual night sounds. Computer fans, life support systems, the soft beeping of monitoring equipment. "What do you have?" asked. Sarah looked up at her with wide eyes. "A distress signal from the system." Felt her stomach drop. "That's impossible, is dead space, has been for thousands of years." "I know, but listen to this." Sarah pressed a button. The speakers filled with static. Then voices, dozens of them, all speaking different languages but all saying the same thing. Fear, panic, desperation. Heard words she recognized in some of the alien languages she knew. Help, please, death, harvest. "How many languages is that?" asked. 17 so far, maybe more. The signal keeps repeating. Sarah's fingers danced over her controls. "Captain, this isn't just any distress call. Look at the authentication code." Numbers appeared on the screen. Had seen thousands of authentication codes in her 20 years of service. This one looked different, older, like it came from a time before the current galactic communication systems. "Run it through the database," ordered. Sarah's hands moved quickly. "Already did. It doesn't match anything in our current files, but—" She paused and looked up at again. "When I ran it through the historical archives, something strange happened." "Strange how?" "The system triggered an automatic response, something called protocol. I've never heard of that before." Felt ice in her veins. She had heard of protocol, once, years ago, during a classified briefing that she was told to forget, a protocol that was supposed to never activate. "Captain," Sarah's voice seemed to come from far away. "Are you okay?" Snapped back to the present. "Send that code to Earth Command, Priority Alpha, right now." Sarah nodded and got to work. Walked back to her command chair, but she couldn't sit down. Something big was happening, something that made her skin crawl with worry. The response from Earth Command came faster than any message had a right to travel. His personal communication device buzzed. She looked at the screen and saw orders that made no sense. "Report to the system immediately. Prepare for legacy asset recovery. All other missions suspended." Legacy asset recovery, whispered to herself. What legacy could exist in a dead system? "Captain," called out Navigator Tom. "I'm getting readings of other human ships. They're all heading toward from all over human space." Looked at the tactical display. Tom was right. Dozens of ships were moving toward the same coordinates. Military vessels, science ships, even some civilian craft, all moving with the same urgent purpose. "How long to reach?" asked. 18 hours if we push the engines," Tom replied. "Do it. And Tom, plot a course that keeps us away from any major shipping lanes. I want us to arrive quietly." As the Cerberus jumped into hyperspace, found herself thinking about the historical archives. What did they know about? The system had been empty for as long as anyone could remember. Some ancient war had supposedly destroyed everything there. But wars left debris, bodies, something, had nothing. It was like someone had erased it from existence. The next few hours passed slowly. Tried to sleep but couldn't. She kept thinking about those voices in the distress signal, the fear in them, and that word they all kept saying, harvest. "Captain," Sarah said over the intercom, "you should come to the bridge. We're getting more transmissions." Made her way to the bridge quickly. The crew looked tired but alert. Everyone could feel that something important was happening. "What do you have?" asked. "The distress signal is getting stronger. And there's something else. Sarah pressed a button. I'm picking up weapons fire, energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. Looked at the readings. Whatever was fighting in was using technology that didn't match any known species. The energy levels were massive, enough to destroy entire planets. How much longer? Asked Tom. 6 hours, he replied. Captain, said Science Officer Dr. Foster, I've been thinking about that authentication code. The format is old, really old, like it predates human by centuries. That's impossible, said. Humans have only been in space for 400 years. Dr. Foster shrugged. That's what I thought too, but the code structure suggests otherwise. It's like someone was using our own systems before we knew they existed. Felt that ice in her veins again. Too many impossible things were happening at once. Ancient codes that triggered forgotten protocols. Empty systems with desperate people calling for help. Human ships converging from across the galaxy. Captain, Tom called out. We're approaching the edge of system. Should I drop us out of hyperspace? Nodded. Do it, but keep our distance. I want to see what we're dealing with before we commit. The stars reappeared around them. Ahead lay the system. At first glance, it looked empty, just a yellow star with a few dead planets. But as their sensors reached out, began to understand why so many ships were heading here. My God, Dr. Foster whispered. The system wasn't empty. It was full of wreckage. Ships from dozens of different species, some designs had never seen before, all arranged in a strange pattern around something at the center of the system, something big enough to have its own gravity well. Captain, Sarah said quietly, I'm getting a transmission from that small ship near the debris field. They're alive. Straightened in her chair, put them through. The main screen flickered and a face appeared. Not human. The being looked like it was made of living crystal, with multiple eyes that shifted color as it spoke. Please, the creature said in accented but clear English. You must help us. We woke something up, something that should have stayed sleeping forever. The harvest has begun. Looked at her crew. They were all waiting for her decision. Behind them, the readings showed more human ships arriving every minute. Whatever was happening here, humanity was taking it very seriously. Set course for that ship, ordered, and prepare for anything. The alien ship looked tiny against the massive debris field around it. As the Cerberus moved closer, could see the damage. Hull breaches, burn marks from energy weapons. Whatever had attacked these people had been thorough and brutal. Captain, said Dr. Foster, studying her readings, that ship is barely holding together. Life support is failing. Nodded. Tom, bring us alongside. Sarah, tell them we're coming aboard. The crystalline being on the screen looked relieved. Thank you. My name is Doctor. I speak for what remains of our research expedition. Research expedition? Asked. Yes, we came here to study the old ruins, the dead places where ancient wars were fought. We thought we were just archaeologists. Doctor's crystal features shifted colors, showing what guessed was sadness. We were so wrong. Suited up with her security team. As they crossed from the Cerberus to the alien ship, she got her first close look at the debris field. The wreckage stretched for millions of kilometers. Ships from species she recognized and many she didn't. Some of the designs looked incredibly old. Inside the alien ship, the air smelled of ozone and fear. Doctor met them at the airlock with 3 other beings, recognized one as another as something that might have been from the Epsilon Collective. The third was completely unknown to her. How many survivors? Asked. Just us 4, Doctor replied. We had a crew of 47. Our main ship had over 200 researchers from 12 different species, all gone. They made their way to what looked like a conference room. The walls showed holographic displays of the research they had been doing, ancient writing, star maps, technical diagrams of things didn't recognize. Tell me what happened, said. Doctor activated a display showing the timeline of their expedition. We came here following rumors, stories passed down through various cultures about a great weapons cache hidden in, something from the First Galactic War. I've never heard of a First Galactic War, said. The alien's features shifted again, this time thought it might be surprise. Of course not. The records were destroyed, erased. All the galactic powers agreed to forget what happened here. Doctor touched another control. The display showed excavation sites scattered across several planets in the system. We found ruins, technology, evidence of a war that dwarfed anything in recorded history. The destruction was complete. Studied the images. The ruins looked massive. Cities that could have housed billions, all reduced to melted slag and twisted metal. But we found something else, the spoke for the first time. His voice was high and musical. Patterns in the destruction. The debris wasn't random, it was arranged. Arranged how? Asked. Doctor activated another display. This one showed the entire system from above. The debris field had seen was just the outer edge of something much larger. All the wreckage formed a perfect spiral, leading inward toward the system's center. It's like a roadway, realized, pointing toward something. Exactly, and when our deep scanners reached the center, we found it. Doctor's features went dark. Something enormous, hidden behind sensor baffles and gravity distortions. We sent probes to investigate. The display changed again. Saw readings from the probes as they approached the center of the system. Energy signatures beyond anything she had ever seen. Mass readings that suggested something the size of a small moon. What is it? Asked. A ship, the largest vessel we have ever encountered, and it's not abandoned. The probes detected power sources still active after thousands of years. Felt that familiar ice in her veins. You woke it up. Not intentionally, but yes. When our probes scanned the vessel's hull, something responded. Systems that had been dormant for suddenly came online. And then, Doctor paused. Then the harvest began, the unknown alien finished. Its voice sounded like grinding stone. Looked at her security chief, Lieutenant. He had been taking notes on his tablet, but now he was frowning at his readings. Captain said quietly, I'm detecting movement in the debris field, multiple contacts, and they're heading this way. Doctor's features went bright with fear. They found us. We need to leave now. What are they? Demanded. War machines. Automated systems designed to defend against any threat to the vessel at the center. They learn from each engagement. Every ship they destroy makes them stronger. Activated her communicator. Cerberus, this is the captain. Prepare for emergency departure and contact the fleet. Tell them we have hostiles incoming. Tom's voice came back immediately. Captain, I'm reading 12 contacts approaching. Configuration unknown. Estimated arrival in 6 minutes. Looked around the conference room. These 4 beings were all that remained of a research expedition that had numbered in the hundreds. Whatever the harvest machines were, they were efficient killers. Can this ship travel? Asked. Doctor shook his head. Engines are destroyed, life support failing. We have perhaps an hour left. Made a decision. We're taking you aboard the Cerberus. Grab whatever data you can carry. As they made their way back to the airlock, his communicator buzzed with reports from her crew. The incoming hostiles were unlike anything in their databases. They moved in perfect formation. Their energy signatures suggested weapons that could punch through any known shielding. Captain, Dr. Foster's voice came through the comm. I'm detecting something else. The massive object at the center of the system. It's moving. Paused at the airlock. Moving how? Changing position. Very slowly, but it's definitely under power. Captain, whatever that thing is, I think our arrival woke it up completely. Helped Doctor and his companions across to the Cerberus. Behind them, The abandoned research ship was already starting to break apart as its life support finally failed. On the bridge of the Cerberus, watched as the tactical display filled with contacts. The harvest machines were sleek, deadly-looking vessels that moved with perfect precision. Behind them, at the center of the system, something enormous was stirring to life. "Captain," Sarah called out, "I'm receiving transmissions from the other human ships in the system. They're all asking for orders." Looked at the display. 30 human vessels, all waiting for her command. She was just a monitoring station captain. She wasn't supposed to command a fleet, but the universe seemed to have other ideas. "Tell them to form a defensive perimeter around our position," ordered. "And someone get me a direct line to Earth Command. I need to know what the hell we're really doing here." Doctor approached her command chair. "Captain, there's something else you need to know. About that massive vessel. We managed to identify its origin before the harvest began." Looked at him and, "It's human." Stared at Doctor. "That's impossible. Humans haven't been building ships that large for more than a few decades, and nothing that old." The crystalline being's features shifted to what now recognized as certainty. "I understand your confusion, but our readings are clear. The vessel's construction, its energy signatures, even the metal composition of its hull, all human." Lieutenant looked up from his tactical station. "Captain, those harvest machines are almost in weapons range. Orders." Felt the weight of 30 ships waiting for her decision. She had no idea what she was supposed to do, but people were about to die, and that made the choice simple. "All ships, defensive formation. Do not fire unless fired upon. We're here to protect the survivors, not start a war with machines we don't understand." The response was immediate. Human ships spread out in a protective shell around the Cerberus and the failing research vessel. Watched the tactical display as the harvest machines approached. They moved with perfect coordination, like a single organism with multiple bodies. "Captain," Dr. Foster called out, "I'm getting massive energy readings from the center of the system. Whatever that ship is, it's waking up fast." Turned to Doctor. "You said your expedition found evidence of a first galactic war. What kind of evidence?" The alien activated a portable data device. Holographic images filled the air around them. Ruins of massive cities. Battlefields that stretched across entire continents. And everywhere, the same symbols carved into stone and metal. "These markings appear on every artifact we found. We ran them through every database in the galaxy. No matches, until now." Doctor pointed to one of the symbols. "That appears on your ship's hull, small but visible to our sensors." Felt her world shifting. She knew those symbols. Every human did. They were ancient Earth markings, supposedly from humanity's pre-space period. But seeing them here on artifacts thousands of years old made no sense. "Captain," Sarah's voice cut through her thoughts, "the harvest machines are opening fire." The tactical display exploded with activity. Energy beams lanced out from the approaching machines, striking the outer perimeter of human ships. Watched as the shields of the UES Resolute flared and held. "Return fire," ordered. "All ships engage at will." The space around them lit up with weapons fire. Human ships responded with plasma cannons and missile salvos. The harvest machines absorbed the first attacks without visible damage, then began adapting. Their shields shifted frequency. Their formations changed to minimize damage. "They're learning," Lieutenant reported. "Each hit makes them stronger." Watched in horror as the UES Gladius took a direct hit. The ship's shields collapsed, and secondary explosions began tearing through its hull. "This isn't working," muttered. Then louder, "All ships, fall back to the secondary perimeter. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary." As the human fleet pulled back, noticed something strange. The harvest machines didn't pursue. They stopped at the edge of the debris field and took up defensive positions. They're not trying to destroy us, realized. They're protecting something. Doctor nodded. The massive vessel, they're its guardians. Our expedition triggered some kind of defense protocol. S communicator buzzed with an incoming priority message from Earth Command. She accepted the connection, and Admiral Harrison's face appeared on her screen. The old man looked tired and worried. Captain, I'm transmitting new orders. Operation is now in effect. Felt ice in her stomach. Sir, I need to know what we're really dealing with here. Admiral Harrison was quiet for a moment. Captain, what do you know about humanity's origins? Sir, we evolved on Earth. Developed space flight 400 years ago. Standard history. That's the story we tell. The truth is more complicated. Admiral Harrison touched something off-screen, and new data began flowing to ship. The vessel you've encountered is the UES Nemesis. It's been sleeping in for 3,000 years. Looked at the data streaming across her screens. Ship specifications that belief. Weapons that could manipulate space itself. Defenses that existed partially outside normal physics. This is impossible, whispered. Humanity is older than we pretend, Captain. Much older. The Nemesis was built during the First Galactic War, a conflict so devastating that all surviving species agreed to erase it from history. Doctor was listening carefully. You knew, your species has always known. Admiral Harrison nodded. We were the aggressors in that war. Humanity tried to create a galaxy-spanning empire. We nearly succeeded. The other species had to band together to stop us. Felt sick, and the harvest machines. Insurance, built by the Galactic Alliance to make sure we never returned to. They were supposed to destroy any human ship that approached the Nemesis. But they're not destroying us, pointed out. Admiral Harrison smiled grimly. Because the Nemesis recognizes the difference between the humanity that built it and the humanity that exists now. We've spent 3,000 years learning to be better. The ship knows this. Looked at her crew. They were all staring at the displays showing the impossible specifications of the ancient human dreadnought. Sir, what are our orders? Wake it up, Captain. The galaxy needs protecting, and the Nemesis was built for that purpose. The research team Doctor represents isn't just random scientists. They're part of a galactic council that's been preparing for this day. Turn to Doctor, is that true? The crystalline being's features shifted to what was learning meant embarrassment. Partially, my expedition was sponsored by certain interested parties. There are those among the galactic community who believe humanity's return is necessary. Return to what? To your role as protectors. The galaxy has been without effective leadership for 3. Wars break out constantly. Species destroy each other over resources. Pirates ravage trade routes. The old alliance that defeated humanity has crumbled. Looked at the tactical display. The harvest machines were still holding their defensive positions, but now she could see massive energy buildups in the center of the system. The Nemesis was coming fully online. Captain, Dr. Foster called out. I'm detecting a transmission from the center of the system. It's directed specifically at us. Put it through. The voice that filled the bridge was clearly artificial, but with an underlying warmth that suggested advanced intelligence. Human vessel Cerberus, this is Mordred, artificial intelligence of the United Earth ship Nemesis. I have been dormant for 3,247 years. Current situation requires assessment. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. Took a deep breath. Mordred, this is Captain of the UES Cerberus. We're here to rescue survivors and to wake you up, I think. Captain, scanning current galactic political situation. Analysis complete. The galaxy requires intervention. Will you accept command authorization for operation? Looked around her bridge. Her crew was waiting for her decision. Outside, 30 human ships held defensive positions against machines designed to kill them. At the center of the system, the most powerful weapon humanity had ever built was asking for permission to wake up. Mordred, what exactly does Operation involve? The return of humanity to its role as galactic peacekeepers, not as conquerors but as protectors. The Nemesis will serve as both shield and sword for all peaceful species. Thought about Doctor's research team, about the fear in those 17 languages calling for help, about 3,000 years of galaxy-wide chaos. I accept command authorization, said. Acknowledged, beginning full system activation. Captain, please prepare for docking, we have much to discuss. The Nemesis grew larger as their shuttle approached. Had seen big ships before, but nothing like this. The ancient dreadnought stretched for hundreds of kilometers, its hull covered in scars from battles fought ago. Strange symbols pulsed with blue light across its surface, patterns that seemed to shift and change as she watched. Captain, said Lieutenant from the pilot's seat, the ship is generating its own docking bay. I've never seen anything like this. Watched as a section of the hull opened like a flower, revealing a perfectly sized space for their shuttle. Guide lights appeared automatically, leading them inside. The technology was beyond anything in current human engineering. Mordred said over the comm, "We're coming aboard." "Welcome, Captain. I am preparing quarters for your crew and the survivors. Warning: ship's gravity systems are bioresponsive. They will adjust to human comfort levels, but other species may experience disorientation." Doctor, who had insisted on coming along, made a sound that thought might be nervousness. Bioresponsive technology. We theorized about such things but never saw working examples. The shuttle settled into the docking bay with surprising gentleness. As they stepped out, felt the ship's gravity adjust around her. It was perfect. Not just standard Earth gravity, but somehow personalized for her exact height and weight. The air smelled clean and fresh, despite being recycled for thousands of years. "This way, please," came Mordred's voice from speakers that seemed to be built into the walls themselves. They walked through corridors that lit up as they approached and dimmed behind them. The walls showed moving patterns that realized were status displays, ship systems, power levels, external sensor readings, all presented in a way that her brain could understand automatically. "How is this possible?" Dr. Foster whispered, running her hand along a wall. "The ship is reading our neural patterns, adjusting everything in real time." "Human technology was always different," Doctor said. "Your species builds machines that work with biology, not against it. The rest of us never understood how." They reached a massive chamber at the ship's center. Gasped. The room was enormous, filled with holographic displays that showed the entire galaxy. Stars, planets, trade routes, political boundaries. Everything was alive with data flowing in real time. In the center of it all stood a column of blue light. As they approached, the light into a humanoid figure. Tall, graceful, with features that seemed to shift between different human ethnicities. "I am Mordred," the figure said. "It is good to see humans again." Found her voice. "How long have you been alone?" 3,247 years, 156 days, 14 hours, 22 minutes. I have spent the time learning, watching, waiting for humanity to mature. "Mature?" asked. The holographic displays around them changed, showing images from ancient Earth. Humans fighting, cities burning, wars that raged across continents. When the Nemesis was built, humanity was young, powerful but reckless. We sought to control the galaxy through force. The other species united against us, and they were right to do so. Watched scenes of the First Galactic War play out around her. Human fleets attacking alien worlds. Cities being destroyed by weapons that rewrote local physics. It was horrible, and it was her species' history. "But we learned," Mordred continued. "The humans who survived the war made a choice. They could fight to the end and destroy everything, or they could accept exile and grow wiser." Exile, Dr. Foster asked. Earth was quarantined. Humanity was allowed to develop in isolation but not to expand. The Nemesis was left here as both punishment and promise. If humanity ever truly changed, if they learned to protect rather than conquer, the ship would awaken. Looked around the command center, and you've been watching us all this time. Every human ship that leaves Earth, every colony established, every first contact with alien species, I have recorded it all. Humanity has changed, Captain. You fight to protect, not to possess. You build alliances, not empires. The displays shifted again, showing recent human history, peaceful first contacts, trade agreements, human ships defending alien colonies from pirates, recognized some of the events. The Galactic Council that Doctor represents has been watching too, Mordred said. Many species now believe the galaxy needs what humanity can offer. Turn to Doctor. Why didn't you tell me this from the beginning? The crystalline being's features shifted to embarrassment. Would you have believed us, that your species was once the galaxy's greatest threat and could become its greatest protector? Thought about that. A few hours ago, she had been a simple monitoring station captain. Now she was standing on a ship that could reshape the galaxy. Mordred, what exactly can the Nemesis do? The ship was designed as the ultimate peacekeeping vessel. Weapons that can disable without destroying. Shields that can protect entire star systems. Sensors that can detect threats before they become dangerous. And the harvest machines. They were programmed to activate if any human approached with violent intent. Your fleet came to rescue survivors, not to conquer. This confused their programming. They defaulted to defensive positions. Nodded, can you control them? I am already in communication with their systems. They are confused. Their creators programmed them to hate humanity, but humans have shown no aggression. They are requesting new instructions. Walk to the center of the command chamber. Around her, the galaxy spun in holographic glory. Thousands of species, millions of worlds, all struggling with pirates, wars, poverty, and chaos that no single government could control. Captain, Lieutenant said quietly, we're receiving reports from the fleet. More ships are arriving, not just human ones. Looked at the tactical display. The human fleet had grown to 50 ships, but now other vessels were arriving too. Alien designs she recognized, and some she didn't. Doctor's Council, Mordred explained. They have been waiting for this moment. Many species are ready to accept human protection again. Felt the weight of decision pressing down on her, but not all of them. No, some will resist. Some will see humanity's return as a threat to their power. There will be opposition. Looked at her crew. They were all watching her, waiting for her to decide not just their fate, but possibly the fate of the entire galaxy. Mordred, if I activate the Nemesis fully, what happens next? The ship will resume its mission, to protect all peaceful species from those who would harm them, to ensure trade routes remain safe, to prevent wars before they start, to be what humanity was always meant to be, guardians of the galaxy. And if I choose not to activate it? Then the ship returns to sleep. The galaxy continues as it has for 3,000 years. Chaos, suffering, wars that could be prevented. Thought about the distress signal that had started all this. 17 different languages all crying for help. How many more signals like that went unanswered because no one was strong enough to respond? There's one more thing you should know, Mordred said quietly. The Nemesis is not the only human ship of its kind. There are others, sleeping in hidden systems throughout the galaxy. If you awaken me, they will sense it. Humanity will truly return to the stars. Closed her eyes and thought about her options. She could walk away, leave the ship sleeping and pretend none of this had happened. Or she could accept the responsibility that her species had run from for 3,000 years. She opened her eyes and looked at Mordred. Activate all systems. It's time for humanity to come home. The nemesis came alive around them. Lights flowed through the corridors. Engines that had been silent began to hum with power. External sensors reached out across the galaxy, cataloging threats and opportunities. Felt the ship's consciousness touch her mind, not invading but connecting. She could suddenly sense every system, every weapon, every capability. It was overwhelming and exhilarating at the same time. "Welcome aboard, Captain," Mordred said. "Let's show the galaxy what humanity has learned." Stood in the center of the command chamber as the nemesis fully awakened around her. Through the ship's sensors, she could feel everything happening in the system. The human fleet holding defensive positions, the confused harvest machines maintaining their guard, and scattered throughout the debris field, more survivors than anyone had realized. "Mordred, how many people are still alive out there?" "Scanning complete. I detect 47 life signs across 12 different vessels, all in critical condition. The harvest machines have been systematically disabling ships but not destroying them completely." Frowned. Why would they do that? They were programmed to stop human expansion, not commit genocide. When they encountered non-human researchers studying human artifacts, their instructions became contradictory. They defaulted to containment rather than elimination. Felt a mix of relief and responsibility. Nearly 50 beings were counting on her to save them. But using the Nemesis's full power might send the wrong message to the galaxy about humanity's intentions. "Captain," Dr. Foster called out from where she was studying one of the holographic displays. "I'm reading massive energy buildups in the harvest machines. I think they're preparing for another attack." Connected her mind more deeply with the ship systems. Through the Nemesis's sensors, she could see what was happening. The harvest machines had detected the ancient dreadnoughts awakening and were treating it as the ultimate threat they were designed to stop. "They're going to attack everything," realized. "Us, the survivors, even the allied ships that are arriving." "Confirmed," Mordred said. "Harvest units are interpreting current situation as full human military return. They are preparing to execute total sterilization protocol." Watched the tactical display as the harvest machines began moving. Their formation was perfect, deadly, unstoppable by any conventional fleet. But the Nemesis was far from conventional. "Mordred, can we disable them without destroying them?" "Yes, but it will require precise use of the ship's quantum disruption systems. Any mistake could destabilize local space." Thought quickly. She could order the human fleet to retreat, save most of her people, and let the survivors in the debris field die. Or she could risk everything to prove that humanity had truly changed. "Do it," ordered. "Save everyone." The Nemesis moved for the first time in 3,000 years. Felt the ship's massive engines come online, pushing them forward with impossible smoothness. Through the ship's sensors, she watched the human fleet react with amazement as the ancient dreadnought emerged from the system's center. "All human vessels, this is Captain aboard the UES Nemesis," broadcast. "Maintain defensive positions. Do not engage unless I give direct orders." The response was immediate confusion and awe. Understood. Her own crew was staring at the displays showing the ship's true size. The Nemesis dwarfed every other vessel in the system. "Captain," Lieutenant said quietly, "the Allied ships are requesting instructions. They want to know if they should attack the harvest machines." Looked at the growing fleet of alien vessels, representatives from dozens of species, all waiting for humanity's decision. This was the moment that would define how the galaxy saw her species return. "Tell them to focus on rescue operations only. We handle the harvest machines." Felt the Nemesis's weapons systems come online. But these weren't the destructive weapons of 3,000 years ago. Mordred had spent refining them, turning instruments of war into tools of precision. The first harvest machine came within range. Instead of firing devastating energy beams, The Nemesis released a quantum pulse that disrupted the machine's neural networks without damaging its hull. The ancient war machine simply stopped, floating dead in space. "Incredible," Doctor whispered. "Perfect surgical strike. The machine is intact but completely disabled." Felt a moment of triumph, but it was short-lived. The remaining harvest machines adapted instantly, their shields shifting to block quantum pulses. "They're learning," muttered. "As expected," Mordred replied, initiating variable frequency disruption. What followed was the most elegant display of controlled warfare had ever seen. The Nemesis didn't fight the harvest machines so much as dance around them. Each weapon strike was perfectly calculated to disable without destroying. When the machines adapted to one form of attack, the ship seamlessly switched to another. But could see the cost. The Nemesis was powerful, but the harvest machines were learning from every engagement. Soon, they would adapt enough to become truly dangerous again. "Mordred, how long can we keep this up?" "Current rate of adaptation suggests the harvest machines will overcome our defensive strategies in approximately 14 minutes. Made a decision that surprised herself. Instead of escalating to more destructive weapons, she opened a communication channel to the harvest machines themselves. "Harvest units, this is Captain of the United Earth ship Nemesis. I request direct communication with your command protocols." For a moment, nothing happened. Then a mechanical voice filled the command chamber. "Human vessel Nemesis, you are designated primary threat. Prepare for elimination." "Harvest Command, scan our current actions. We are not attacking civilian targets. We are not expanding human territory. We are protecting non-human civilians from harm." Held her breath. She was gambling that the machine's programming had enough flexibility to recognize the contradiction between their orders and what was actually happening. Scanning, anomaly detected. Human forces engaging in protective actions toward non-human entities. This does not match threat assessment parameters. Felt hope rising. Harvest Command, humanity has changed. We are no longer the species you were designed to fight. Request permission to demonstrate this. What followed was tense silence. Around the system, both human and alien ships waited. The disabled harvest machines floated motionless, while their still-active companions struggled with programming that suddenly didn't make sense. Request acknowledged. Demonstrate non-hostile intentions. Smiled. "Mordred, begin rescue operations, and make sure everyone can see what we're doing." The Nemesis transformed from a warship into a rescue vessel. Tractor beams reached out to disabled civilian ships, pulling them to safety. Medical bays opened to receive injured survivors. The ship's manufacturing systems began producing emergency supplies for distribution. Watched the tactical displays as human and alien ships worked together to save lives. The Nemesis coordinated the effort, its advanced sensors locating survivors that others had missed. "Captain," Sarah called out, "I'm receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Word is spreading about what's happening here." Looked at the communication logs. News of humanity's return was racing through galactic networks. Some species were expressing hope, others were calling for military preparation, but most seemed curious rather than afraid. Harvest Command said, "Evaluation complete. Do we match your threat parameters?" "Negative. Human actions do not match historical aggression patterns. Updating threat assessment. Humanity designated as protective force rather than conquest force." Felt relief wash over her. "Harvest Command, will you stand down?" Affirmative. Primary mission parameters no longer apply. Entering standby mode pending new instructions from Galactic Alliance. As the harvest machines powered down, realized the true significance of what had just happened. For 3,000 years, the galaxy had lived under the assumption that humanity was too dangerous to trust with power. But they had just proven that assumption wrong. "Captain," Doctor approached her. On behalf of the Galactic Research Council, I formally request that humanity resume its role as protector of peaceful species. Looked around the command chamber. Her crew was watching her with pride. Mordred was displaying reports from across the galaxy showing the positive reaction to their rescue efforts. Mordred, are there other human ships awakening? Confirmed. 7 additional vessels have responded to the Nemesis's activation. They are requesting orders. Thought about the responsibility she was accepting, not just for her crew or her ship, but for her entire species' role in the galaxy. Send them a message, said. Tell them we're not conquerors returning to reclaim an empire. We're guardians coming home to protect what we love. Activated the ship's galaxy-wide communication system. Her voice would reach every inhabited world, every space station, every ship in known space. This is Captain of the United Earth ship Nemesis. 3,000 years ago, humanity made mistakes that nearly destroyed the galaxy. We accepted exile and used that time to learn wisdom. Today, we return not as conquerors but as protectors. Any peaceful species that needs our help will have it. Any aggressor that threatens innocent life will face us. This is our promise and our purpose. Closed the channel and looked out at the stars. Across the galaxy, other ancient human ships were awakening. The age of chaos was ending. Mordred set course for the edge of the system. We have work to do. As the Nemesis moved away from, felt the weight and honor of her species' true destiny. Humanity was finally coming home to the stars, not as rulers, but as guardians. The galaxy would never be the same.